Hello YouTube, this is the Booty Warrior, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a replay review-ish. It's more like a stream 1v1 review with our pal Size Matters, or iSize Matters, if you prefer. And he's in Bronze right now, and this was a game he had against a... we look here. Protoss versus Terran. Bronze versus Gold. A little loud on my end. But he's wanting some help, so we're going to sit down and watch his video, see if we can point out any particular mistakes. I already watched a little bit of it, and it gets pretty yikes pretty fast, I'm not going to lie. It starts off okay. Okay, so not using Chrono Boost during the pre-pylon phase, it's really good. Because, like, that's something that I used to do when I didn't understand it was inefficient. So, 16 gateway. Honestly, that probe... how do I... try to... there we go. So we look at this again. This is a habit that you should try to develop to, like, optimize your play in general. As the pylon is finishing. So first of all, you have 80 minerals right now. You're going to spend it on a probe. Queued up, that way a probe is starting as soon as the pylon is done. And, like, you're not going to do anything with your money anyway, so, like, queuing up here when your pylon blocked is fine. Like, just queue one probe. A good general habit when I'm making probes is it is okay to queue up one worker. Don't queue up more than that, though. So, probe queued immediately, and you'll hover closer to, like, because that'll get rid of 50 minerals immediately, and then you can, as the pylon is finishing, you move the probe into position, and then you just make the gateway immediately, and it's a little bit quicker. It's tighter. Oh, and as you're moving the probe over there, try to, in a perfect world, try to chrono boost your nexus, like, as soon as the pylon is done. That way, you're not missing value on the chrono boost. And, yeah, I'm gonna be a little nitpicky here. Sometimes... I feel like you get the most value, because I don't want to just give generic advice and be like, oh, well, you don't have to really care about this, that level, and blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I want this to be efficient, I want you to get as much value and information out of this replay review as possible. Even if you don't necessarily get the hang of it, like, after the fact, immediately. That's fine. I just want to put the thoughts in your head, alright? And, similarly to where we needed to have our probe at the position to put down the gateway as soon as the pylon was done. As we're approaching 17 supply in the top right, we should have a probe ready to start up the gas geyser. Instead of, like, having this weird delay. It's a slight delay, so it's not the end of the world, but there's little touches that make everything cleaner. And, on the topic of probes, hotkey your probe. Like, at least one of them. You can hotkey 3 so that you can immediately put them on the gas geyser if you want. You have to remember to get rid of that control group, though, or, like, replace it with something else. And honestly, I highly recommend getting into the habit of using control groups for your play as soon as possible. And early on in this play, this little game we're gonna see, he's slacking on the control group management. Now, I don't know what build he's doing exactly, so it's kind of hard to judge in terms of, like, how everything is timed out. But at the very least, we can judge his play in terms of, like, is he spending his money? Is he making workers? Is he teching up? And that's the big fundamental of Starcraft II, right, that I went over. And I put it in my thumbnail, and I want to emphasize this. If I can bring it back up, hold on. 3 things you need to focus on when you're playing Starcraft II. Tech, expand, max. You don't necessarily have to max to, like, win the game, but you basically try to get as many units as you can, try to spend your money as best you can, and make sure that you're keeping up in tech and you're not staying on like tier 1 or whatever. And we're looking for 50 workers at the 5-minute mark. This isn't a replay, so I can't tell if he's making 50 exactly. Although I can tell you right now he's not making workers. Okay, that's pretty bad. But, and I'm pretty sure you can chrono boost, like right now. I know that you can put down 2 chrono boosts before you put down the Cybo core. And your first instinct here is to make a pylon. Unnecessary. Like, at least put down the core before you do that. Like, if you watch my recent video of me playing Protoss, I always make sure the core is down. I'm always making workers. And you have to make it an OCD. Alright? So, like, you should be chrono boosting right now. Chrono boost. Chrono boost. Chrono boost. Chrono boost. You're not chrono boosting. Chrono boost. Now, 23-ish. Decent time to expand, but... Look, the chrono boost is very, very important for your economy. I want to emphasize, you can't ignore it. Like, sure, like, once you're close to 2 base saturation, you can be a little bit more... You can use chrono boost on, like, more specific things, like tech or upgrades. Or, if you're trying to, like, chrono boost out a High Templar, or not High Templar, a Colossus or an Observer. But right now, that should be all that we're thinking about. And this Zealot, unnecessary. And I already know that the Terran is going to be Reaper expanding in this game. That Zealot isn't going to do anything. Imagine, like, you could have gotten... Well, first of all, you're about to be supply blocked. So you could get out a pylon around this time. If you didn't spend it on a Zealot. You could be getting a lot more workers at one time. I think a good general rule of thumb is try to wait until you have your second base established before you start really trying to get, like, extra gateways. Like, right now, you're about to hit 100 gas. If I were you, my first instinct is Robo Bay. And you are getting out, yeah. You are getting your second gas, which is good. But pretty soon, yeah, here it comes. Fucking Reaper destruction. This Reaper deals so much damage. Not so much to, like, in terms of worker kills, although he does get a few workers. Which should never really happen. And you can see how useless the Zealot is, right? This is why you don't make a Zealot. That Zealot cannot hit the Reaper. That's why you only make either Stalkers or Depths to deal with Reaper Rush. Or Reaper openings, rather. And you have to try your best to not get... So, first of all, you don't have to, like... You can just chase the Reaper with the Stalker, alright? You don't have to, like, hide it on the high ground or have it camping in one location, necessarily. If it's... Yeah, as you can see, like, this is when his macro falls are pretty bad. But if the Reaper is, like, attacking your workers, just move the Stalker over there. And this is why you want to try, as soon as the Stalker is done, you should get a second Stalker out. I always get a second Stalker out. And this is why. Because that Reaper can pressure 2 different points at once. Like, you need 2 Stalkers to cover both bases. 1 Stalker in that mineral line, 1 Stalker in the second mineral line, and you're good. And you're making batteries, even though you don't have any reason to. You should only make defensive structures when you absolutely have to. Or if you're, like, really suspicious of an attack. But a Reaper opening is not an attack. In fact, this is more so for scouting than it is for damage. And you're letting yourself get distracted by this thing really bad. And you're not hotkeying your units. Again, like, good general rule of thumb. As soon as your units are out, you hotkey them immediately to 1, 2, 3, whatever you like. Doesn't really matter. And if you're worried about your Stalkers, like, trailing off on their own, just have them hold them... Just hold them in position in the mineral line area.
I'm not sure what to do here.
Like here, you kind of have...
And I'm below workers.
This is definitely around the time you want to add a few more gates, but... So like everything's kind of fucky now. You're still not chrono boosting your nexuses. And this is a subtle thing that I actually remembered recently. So, you may notice that sometimes your units will spawn slower on some pylons, and on others they're a lot faster. Watch this. Okay, when you can see the pylon energy field, it is blue. That means it will slow warp your units. But, normally, if it will fast warp your units, it will be like a more greenish color. Your speed is definitely not there. You pick off the Reaper, which is pretty good. Personally, I would want at least send a probe in the direction of your enemy's base just to know if he has an expansion. Because it could be a big deal if he doesn't. Okay, he could potentially aggress you. And that pylon... Try not to make pylons too early. And I think you're gonna get into this trap of, I have units, therefore I must attack. And, I mean, it may work out. This guy's gold, so who the fuck knows, but... It's not a good habit. Like, your focus, you still don't have a single tech structure down. At all. You should have a robo bay. You should be making a hell of a lot more workers. And then when your second base gets close to 16 is generally when you want to get your 2 gas geysers. Okay, you got a Twilight Council. You're getting your robo finally at the 6-minute mark. That should have been like, as soon as you get your warp gate, as soon as you get your Stalker, that needed to be the next thing you spend your gas on. You want to get that tech early. Okay, the tech is what will decide how your mid to late game phase will play out, alright? You don't want to be stuck on, like, generic brand gateway tech. Try to make it just the biggest habit ever. Become obsessed about it. I want you to dream about it. I want you to have fucking nightmares about not making workers. As ridiculous as that sounds, sometimes I have bad dreams in Starcraft II, about Starcraft II, where I'm not macroing properly. That's the mindset you gotta be at, bruh. So, in this position, you should continue making workers. Do you want... Okay, you're going for Blink here. So you might as well keep making Stalkers. You're getting your first Observer out, which is good. Aside from the supply block. Did you start a pylon? I think you did. Yeah, you got a couple going. Because if you were constantly making workers here, your money wouldn't be as high, is the thing. That's why it's so important. And again, like, you want 50 workers at the 5-minute mark. Practice on your own in a custom game if you have to. Like, without any opponent whatsoever. Just see if you can get 50 workers at the 5-minute mark. And as far as this goes, well, this is exactly why the Observer early game is important. That's why we get our Robo Bay fast. And in this position, just split up your army. Don't, like, A-move it from one spot to the other. You definitely shouldn't be trying to attack with your probes. If you want to, you can put your units into, like, 2 different hotkeys or control groups. You can have one bunch of Stalkers and then another bunch of Stalkers and number 2 control group. You're probably not going to catch that medevac. He's probably already on his way home. The thing is, like, you're more focused on looking for that medevac and attacking than you are with working on your macro. Like, especially at low level, you should be endeavoring to pay as little attention to your attacking as possible. And this is why I don't recommend doing stuff like, harass and pressure builds early when you're like new to the game. Because you end up spending like 30 seconds staring at your Reaper or your Banshee or whatever. And then you're having like 1,000 minerals like here. You haven't even really looked at your base since you moved out. Pretty rough. Did you play another game? Let's see. Also, like, I mean, I don't know how much he plays Starcraft II. If he really wants to improve, the thing is, like, his streams, this is like a personal note, but his streams are often just him staring at replays, and honestly, like, just working on your mechanics is better than looking at replays. Because, like, your big focus here should just be, like, instead of looking at replays constantly being like, oh, I'm not making workers, just practice. Against no AI, just try to make workers, try to stress-free environment. Alright, did he play another? Looks like it. Alright, bronze versus silver, let's see how this plays out. I'm gonna skip past this part, there's not really a lot to say here. Alright, you queued up a probe this time, which is good. Your probe still wasn't quite in position, but at least you were still making a probe there while you were doing that. You're chrono boosting, you're not chrono boosting, rather. Let's look at that again. I think there was like a little bit more travel time, wasn't there? Yeah. That's why you usually grab the closest gas geyser, but that's... Other than that, it shouldn't be too different. Oh, you gotta fix your rally point, buddy. This is gonna get bad. Okay. You don't need that gateway. I guess he's doing like some kind of pressure build, like maybe like one base Stargate opener or something. Yeah, the fact that, yeah, he's definitely doing that shit. Or he's going DT, we'll see. But I gotta say, like, immediately, I'm not a fan of this build. Because like I said earlier, I don't recommend doing pressure builds when you're new to the game and just trying to like learn how to macro properly. Like this shit is just going to be distraction and nothing else. Okay, double adept opener, interesting. You definitely should be going for a Nexus right now. Did you start warp gate? Yeah, you did. I want to point out how awkward this is all timed out. Just as you're putting down your Nexus, you are hovering over 100 gas. Did you really need to get that second gas geyser that fast? Like, in fact, let's look at this. Right when you took it. You already have 116 gas right now. Adepts are like 125. Okay, 25 gas. So overall, that would be like 50 gas on the 2 units, and then 50 gas on the warp gate. And then you would probably have... You would have plenty of time to like go down here, grab the Nexus, and you don't have gas that's just floating in the corner there, doing nothing, you know? And these are the kinds of things you should be looking for. If you're thinking like, how do I tell my build is efficient or not? Just, when you have a certain amount of gas, think to yourself, can I do anything with that? And if the answer is no, then probably you took your gas geyser too early, like in this case. Or the timing that you grabbed your base was a little bit off. So now you got 200 gas. Again, you should be going for a robo here. You want those observers to know if you're getting attacked. You want to be able to look at what your opponent is doing. Or, worst case scenario, you can just get like one defensive observer. Like in case of a Banshee or something. Even that would help. And in terms of scouting at this level, you don't even have to be, like, you don't need to have, like, a deep understanding of, okay, if Terran has this building and that building, then he's probably doing that building, blah, 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 blah. All you need to know is, you can just park it by his natural, and be like, is he moving out? No? Okay, I'm good. Or, you can, like, put observers, like, okay, can you see my mouse? Right here on this spot, great spot to put down observers, early game. You can scout drops, you can scout banshees. That's why you always see me, like, putting overlords in the corners here. Or, like, along the 3rd and 4th bases, because I know that generally speaking, when someone's doing a drop, they're gonna start, like, from the very corner, the very border of the fucking map, and they're gonna work their way to you. And it doesn't look like you were really thinking about it or you were aware of it, but that pylon you placed was actually kind of smart, because it can help give you a little bit more time to see if a drop is coming. You don't want to put too much shit over there, of course, because it's more vulnerable compared to putting things in the main, like near your mineral line. And for the record, you have to be able to chrono boost your workers because that will determine whether or not you can get 50 workers at the 5-minute mark. Like, every chrono boost you don't spend on your Nexus slows down your ability to get a shit ton of workers. Protoss is designed around using chrono boost when they're making workers. And what you should be thinking, well, these zero vision batteries gotta stop. I never make batteries unless I have a reason to. When there's nothing on the map, there's no reason. And this is a trap that all low-level players fall into, is they're just like, well, I got dropped one time, couple, 2-3 times, and I got PTSD, so therefore I'm gonna make like 50 cannons in the back of my base, or 50 turrets. Okay, fucking engineering bay first Terran build. Or I'm Zerg, and I'm gonna spend my first 20 drones on nothing but spore crawlers. Because, oh, I really don't want to get fucking DT rushed. That's a trap. Stop that. Your focus should be macro. It should be getting the tech up, getting Colossi, getting High Templar, getting upgrades. Getting your 3rd. I haven't seen too many of his games, so I don't know how often he gets a 3rd base. But, like, even now, especially against a silver player, like, I'd be really confident taking my 3rd here. Probably could have taken that earlier with how much money you were banking up. And if you really want to know, like, is it safe to expand, that's why you scout your opponent's natural. Or you can park an observer there and just see, again, like, is he pushing out? No. Does he have a lot of units? No. I could probably take my base here. Or if you're playing against Terran, I'll get a little bit more advanced for the sake of this particular game, alright? Generally speaking, when you scout a Terran's main base and you see a starport with a tech lab on it, that is indicative of a Banshee. And not only that, but most likely Cloak. The Banshee requires the tech lab, and the tech lab naturally gives them the ability to get Cloak. So a lot of Terrans will get Cloak when they're going for Banshees. So you should always have some kind of detection ready for that. And if you see a starport with a reactor on it, that means he's either going Vikings or he's going medevac. But he's not going to go Vikings if he's smart. He's not going to go Vikings unless he sees that you have a bunch of Colossi. So, especially this early in the game, starport with a reactor on it, medevacs. And if you see a factory with a tech lab on it, those are tanks. And if you see it with a reactor on it, that means it's going to be either Hellions or Widow Mines. One of the two. Oh, okay. This is like the most classic low-level Terran thing ever. I'm gonna fucking ninja this base and then not even repair it, even though it would probably... I mean, Terran repair is bullshit, so he probably could have... He would have at least delayed that a lot more. Because the longer that planetary lives, like, eventually you're going to lose all your units, and you're just not going to have enough DPS to, like, break through the repair rate, you know? Now, first of all, this is why, unless you have vision of your opponent's main army, we did that AI game in my recent video, right? Now, thankfully, that battery is going to pull off, even though you didn't even know it was coming. So, and this is another thing that happens, is like, you make these defensive structures for no reason. It happens to work out, and you think to yourself, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to do that every game now. Because it worked one time. No. That's luck. First of all, you should remember that recall is a mechanic. Like, go to your Nexus hotkey. It should say, like, strategic recall or something like that. It should be the R key, I believe. And then you just click on your units. And they warp to the Nexus. Now, it looks like you have so many units that you're gonna brute force this. But you can still make Stalkers. Also, you can blink past these structures. You don't have to be stuck here.
I think I've got some of it. Okay.
Like, you're completely ignoring your base right now. Nah, I'm sorry, that's not how it works. I imagine that was an accident. But when you press the recall ability, you click your units, not your workers, your army units. And it will teleport you to a Nexus. I'm not entirely sure how the protocol works, because I haven't really used it much in my game so far. But if you really want to be careful about it, make sure that your units are going to the best possible Nexus they can be going to. Just individually click on the Nexus, and then teleport your units to it. Instead of just pressing the 4 key, and just teleporting and hoping they warp to a decent spot. It doesn't matter in this case, like, they can be slightly farther from the battle cruisers. But, like, you're gonna throw yourself into this base race situation when you don't fucking need to. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, well, okay, there's actually 4 battle cruisers. That could be bad. And this is why you try not to have your army into one big death ball. Because there's always a chance that you get, like, harassed in the middle of attacking, and you're put into this awkward position where you're just like, should I just keep trading? Should I base race? Like, you can just kill Terran right now. I imagine you're going to win. Surely. Like, you are wildly ahead of Terran at this point in supply. There are so few units here that you can just leave, like, a couple Stalkers. Or hell, you can just leave your Adepts and Zealots there and that's it. Okay, they can't fucking shoot up anyway. So... And yeah, that's a significant cooldown, so you can't just over-rely on it. And you can warp past the rocks, too, if there's rocks that are blocking your path, like here. It's a little bit more micro-intensive, but... Oh man, I really hope you didn't lose all your probes. You have like 3 left according to that. And I imagine what happens... Well, actually, Terran can just teleport. And this is why you don't want to fuck around with battle cruisers. Okay, Terran's retarded, so he's not going to teleport. Okay, you can still win this. Like, you can still... You don't even have to...
Yeah, I think I lost here, right, guys? I need to find space here.
No, you still have 3 probes. You see at the bottom left, the F1 key?
Oh, he's here.
You can still, like, macro, like normal. Just defend your base with your Stalkers, and that's it. Take your opponent's natural, his main, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Or you can take the rich gas geyser base. So, like, even here, you can make a base. You are being revealed. This is really bad. You don't even need, like, all your Stalkers to kill these things. And you might be able to catch him here. And this is why you don't want to overcommit when you're, like, attacking someone. And why you make sure that you have... Yeah, you're gonna win, but... Again, try to spend as little time staring at the army as you can. Because the real Starcraft happens in your base, not on the battlefield. And congratulations on the promotion, though.